Welcome back to Chow Time Pods. Your host, Red. I got videos today from Moon.
Answer this one question. When was the last time you met someone naturally? No dating apps, not online, but a genuine interaction in the real world.
I'm from an older generation. I'm the millennial generation, so we grew up meeting people face to face. We had the internet, but we didn't have dating apps yet. I think Match was, or like one of those ones were like the first few ones that everybody looked at online dating as like, ew, kind of thing. I still meet a lot of people nowadays just because I live that kind of lifestyle where I meet people. I go out to meet people all the time. I can see the Generation Z not doing these things. They don't go out to drink as what our generation did. They're a lot more health conscious. They're a lot more conscious about dating because, you know, channels like ours and anecdotal evidence from the older generation.
I'm guessing for most of you it was quite a while ago, but if you're in Generation Z, it possibly has never even happened.
True.
And that's not an accident. Most people we see these days are cashiers, co-workers, people rushing around, delivery drivers, people we pass by, not people we get to know. Interactions are often just transactions. Before dating apps turned relationships into a marketplace, the stage was already set years ago. Just think about an average day. You work from home alone, your groceries get delivered, you tap your phone to pay, no words exchanged. Self-checkout at the shops, takeaway dropped to your door by someone who doesn't make eye contact.
I do admit I go to the self-checkout pretty often just because I don't want to have to deal with someone, and they're a lot more open at the self-checkout than the regular tellers or cashiers.
Or maybe doesn't even speak the same language as you. It's so easy to go days without meaningful human interaction. Most interactions you do have are transactional unless you're one of the lucky few who finds a club, society, or just something to connect with people. And even then, it's probably shoved into a small corner of your routine. We live in a touchless society, and like anything, if you don't use it, you lose it. Intimacy, sex, and love are just no different. And unlimited access to adult content really capitalized on this moment.
Yes.
You just click, consume, and wrap things up, remove your sexual desire, and move on with your day. Super easy and truly the simplest exchange for pleasure imaginable, really. But it's also shallow, takes away your drive, it's temporary satisfaction with diminishing returns. And like any addiction, you merely fill the gaps without addressing the root causes. And the brain has adapted to all of this. Dating apps started with a promise to breach a gap that most of their founders and investors had started. I mean, get this one. One of the Tinder CEOs left in 2022 and immediately launched Mino, an AI chatbot to fight loneliness. There's now a thriving loneliness economy that Silicon Valley talks about all the time. There are even venture capital companies that focus exclusively on this. We made a video about the entire loneliness economy before.
I mean, yeah, it seems like society is forcing men to be incels. They don't want men out there interacting with the world.
As it's just the perfect vector for exploitation. Sell people the solution to the problem you helped create. It's the oldest trick in the book, but the impacts are totally new to us. And that's why they're doing so much damage. We're even inventing new language to deal with this. Remember that cringily soulless word "me cute" that people started using years ago? It popped up on social media as a way to describe meeting someone that you exchange numbers with for a date. For example,
that's just a normal interaction.
At a coffee shop or a bookshop when looking for the same book. Just think about the fact that we actually developed a new word for the crazy phenomenon of just meeting someone organically. It should have set off alarm bells, right? It was an early sign that society was changing in a way that made meeting people in real life the exception and not the rule. It's no coincidence that the word started being used a lot around 2015, the same time dating apps blew up. And in the last decade, dating declined to the point where the majority of Generation Z today just don't know or really have any way to meet people.
50%.
The cost is very costly for the young men out there to try to live the lifestyle that these women seem to want these young men to live.
Of men aged 18 to 24 have never approached a woman in person in their life, and like even higher percentage, 18 to 30, haven't approached a woman in the last year.
In recent years, third spaces, meaning not your home, school, workplace, have just vanished. Think about the place that you grew up as an example. Pubs, bars, libraries, high street shops, how many are actually left today? And if any, how busy even are they? Since COVID, we just shuttle ourselves from home to work to the gym to the supermarket and home. You don't really just go to the village market. There is no real town, square or hall. You're not really bumping into anyone. Even a bit of small talk with someone at the bus stop just feels weird and awkward. Making eye contact with someone on public transport will get you a look that leaves you wondering if you're insane.
So much of what makes somebody good at dating is different now than it was 50 years ago.
You can see it in the way coffee shops have changed. Almost every
I love coffee shops. I go to coffee shops all over. When I was in La Plaza with my best friend the last 4 days in Mexico, we went to like 3-4 coffee shops. I love coffee.
cafe
I love the
is
coffee
bland,
shop.
empty, just minimalist. Almost as if they're designed purely as a
I don't like Starbucks. That's probably I like the little niche cafes, you know, they do everything by hand kind of thing. I'm kind of like into that.
conveyor belt of coffees and customers, getting us in and out as quickly as possible to extract the most amount of money they can. But can you remember the time when a stereotypical cafe was like this? With big sofas, comfy chairs, bringing people together to talk, and people just walking up to someone to say,
Damn, very true. I never even thought about it, how the friends setting in the cafe was how cafes used to be. Nowadays, cafes are a little bit more streamlined. There's not really couches, there's tables and chairs, but it's not made to be as comfortable as it used to be.
say something without it being creepy. The show Friends was based on just reality in the 90s, and it's all part of a much wider pattern, one that's seemingly threatening humanity.
That this is actually a potentially existential crisis. Humans really do meet the qualification of an endangered species.
Because meeting people and building relationships is really the most important thing for human survival. It's often the key indicator in determining your lifespan. It's how we have replacement rates in just the population. But with this last decade and the disappearance of so many communal spaces where our parents and grandparents had opportunities to randomly meet new people, mixed with dating apps, has meant we're seeing a gap try to be filled that wasn't a natural one. This is a void created by the same economic forces that hollowed out our third spaces chains and corporate landlords. The same forces that funded these apps promising to replace.
So should we be creating new third spaces for everybody? Is this the solution for people to kind of meet up a little bit more?
What was destroyed. And dating apps didn't discover a gap in the market, one was just torn open and then monetized. But it was a lie. That too was all about getting your money. Think about it, the whole idea of a dating app as a viable business is a paradox. If they actually help people into relationships, they would clearly lose business. One good match is 2 lost customers, so instead they design the apps to fail, and in doing so keep us hooked on using them. And in turn, what better way to keep an active user base than by having relationships designed to be short-term? This is your capacity to fall in love, to build a family, to find meaning. All your data, all your most vulnerable desires is just slowly converted into swipes and push notifications so someone else can hit their quarterly growth targets. Your relationship is designed to not be long-term. It's why men make up 75% of Tinder users and women just 25%. Interestingly enough, the co-founder of the dating site OkCupid wrote a book revealing what actually happens behind the scenes of dating apps. Women, as you'd expect, receive an average of 4 to 5 messages a week, which even that seems unlikely to be this low. 90% of men
I maybe get like 1 or 2 matches a month?
and received an average of 0 messages. Only at the extreme end of the attractiveness scale do the best looking men receive around 1 to 2 messages.
But there's also a lot of men who are relying on
Obviously, this mofo here is not that attractive.
dating apps who are never going to get the matches that they desire, either because they are short or because they are bald.
So, as many of us already know, if you're not in the top 10%, there's really no point in using them. It's something that's called mate suppression in practice, and we'll get into that more soon.
And the reality is, for 95% of guys, online and dating apps aren't going to be a fruitful place for them to meet women.
But what we're seeing right now is that Generation Z's entire prospect of finding love is based on the ELO rating system, a numerical
the ELO system.
method developed to rank players in games like chess.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this is how we ranked people in chess and video games and chess and stuff.
Player score determines how strong or weak they are in relation to others. So your ability to find love
LOL
is
is
seemingly
based on,
literally
right?
being run through the same maths we use to decide who's good at chess or League of Legends. It's why whenever you join these apps you get tons of matches, then suddenly they just fade away. You'll be told this is a personal failure, but oftentimes it's not. It's just the platform sorting you to the bottom unless you pay a ton of money. And this created a dangerous dynamic that has now permeated the world of dating, one where women select the same group of the most attractive men who have almost exclusive access to women, who then become less interested in lots of these girls because they are then seen as too easy. The effect of this is that dating is seemingly a low trust marketplace, as the entire way to attract is seemingly detachment and not through connection. It's always a contest of who cares the least, who can take the longest to message back, who's more aloof, disinterested, and who holds the power in the struggle to not care.
This is why men just kind of opt out of the game. The game is just not worth playing. All this, oh, I gotta pretend not to like you, or all this other thing, and I have to be stoic in front of you and all. I have to not give you attention, but if I give you too much attention, you're gonna see me as a creep. But if I don't give you any attention, you're gonna see me as a dick, but you like dicks. And it's just like, what the hell is going on?
Care about the other. In other words, it's a game where almost everyone is bound to lose. You can now see it on reality TV with game shows where heartbreak is entertainment. But what's the message we're supposed to get from this? Romance isn't sacred, it's just a contest, which all leads to the loneliness epidemic, and this one's hitting the youngest the hardest. But it's not just dating. Our whole modern society is stacked against any of us meeting someone, getting married, or even having children. And the consequences of this will change the world as we know it. Because there's something else catching up with us. Our bodies are starting to fail and lose the capacity to produce children at all. You know what they found recently?
Yeah, that's what I'm always worried about, is those microplastics. I'm sure I have tons of it in me.
Microplastics in human testicles. Human testicles contain nearly 3 times as much plastic as dog testicles. We're literally marinating our reproductive organs in synthetic polymers. It's one of the many explanations as to why male sperm counts have dropped by more than 40% since 1970. Average sperm count could even hit near 0 at the current trajectory.
Oh shit, we're literally dying. I did not know it was this serious. That sperm count is set to 0 in what? 24 more years? What the fuck? We dead. We cooked.
Even if a situation that extreme doesn't transpire, there are plenty of other things to worry
that
about,
was an extreme
like
one.
the forever chemicals in non-stick pans and waterproof jackets, BPA in your water bottles, all the nasty chemicals in your shampoo. I mean, just the list goes on. Even simple stuff like drinking hot coffee out of plastic takeaway cups. We just live in a world now saturated with endocrine disruptors. And surprise, surprise, our endocrine systems are getting disrupted by all of this garbage we're pumping into our bodies daily. But even if you've somehow avoided the chemical assault, even if your fertility is fine, there's another huge problem vying against us. How many of your friends between the ages of 18 and 30 have kids?
Shit.
1, 2? No.
Like half.
None until
Less than
this
half.
year or last? Is anyone planning to have kids? How about those who
I have a lot of people that are dinks. Like couples that are dinks. I have like 3 couples that are dinks. Dual income, no kids. Yeah, they don't want kids.
said they don't even want kids? We just push everything later and later back. Education, work, financial stability, and for the middle classes especially, that pushes back having a family. Because you only have a family when it's really sensible to, right? That's just the middle class value.
I mean, that's the middle class mind, but everybody else is just, let's just bang and figure it out.
Rich people don't worry, and poorer people don't worry. But nothing changes our biological clock when it comes to fertility. Women over 35 are considered advanced maternal age, and honestly 35 is starting to look young to have kids for millions of people around the world.
It does.
However, at 35, miscarriage rates nearly double. The chance of chromosomal abnormalities skyrockets.
The genetic abnormalities are what I'm super scared of. Like, I'm always going to love my kids, but to have to deal with someone or have to deal with a kid that's not able to take care of himself is hard on you, hard on your family. And it's going to be hard when you pass. Who's going to take care of them? Who's going to take care of them to the same love level that you took care of them? They're not going to be able to take care of themselves as adults. I'm always worried about that. I think about that actually a decent amount. Like, if my kids was special, and who the hell's gonna take care of them when I'm gone?
Down syndrome risk goes from something like 1 in 1,250 at 25 to 1 in 100 at 40. And it's not just mothers, older fathers contribute too. Men over 45 show increased risk for autism, schizophrenia, even stillbirth in their partners. Having kids into the 40s, 50s, and way higher for men.
It's not good for men either. This is why I'm trying to tell men to get some kids. Yes, we can still have kids in later ages, but it also affects our children.
At least is now becoming super common. Every year you wait, you're rolling dice with higher and higher stakes, but what else do you do? Shrug your shoulders and say it's too late and just plummet towards old age without the family you ever wanted and live an unsatisfying life. Well, if you don't want that, when natural conception fails, you can only turn to IVF. This is often the modern solution, except a single cycle costs $12,000 to $15,000.
Crazy
Add medications, there's another $5,000, and most people need multiple cycles, so you're looking at around $30,000 to $50,000 minimum.
That was about the estimate that I saw for quite a bit of people.
Often much more. And this leads down a dark path where we're forced to engineer more of the process of just having kids. Genetic testing in the womb. Testing for Down syndrome is one thing, but some companies will now screen for height and IQ. It's an ethical black hole on every front.
I will definitely screen for the Down syndrome. I don't really care about IQ. What the fuck?
Men and women. Women are the child bearers, they shoulder a lot of the risk here, and male dating culture doesn't think about this enough because everyone is turning against each other. If you've seen our video on population collapse, you'll know that fertility rates are just collapsing. Countries like the USA and the UK are seeing the lowest childbirth numbers in their histories. It's not just a stat, it's millions of people who always imagined they'd have a partner and family one day, now quietly aging.
I do admit in our red pill space and in the man space, we don't give women credit for going through childbirth and, you know, the changes in their bodies and things like that enough. I do believe giving children and giving birth to children is quite a detriment to people's bodies.
Reaching out to that possibility. Family lines ending not because people don't want love, but because our environment makes acting on that desire impossible. Ask yourself, even if you did meet the right person, what would stop you from having children? Probably not enough money, no chance of being...
I could tell you now, if I met the right person right now, same ambition, I'm actually, like, I don't want someone without any ambition. I've cycled through quite a bit of relationships now over the years. I've gone through, you know, I've dated women with no ambition. I've dated women with ambition. I've dated women that just want to be housewives. I've dated women that wanted to do great things in life. I think I fall into I want my wife or my partner to like want to do things with me, like create something amazing with me, not just be a housewife or something. No, I want to create something amazing and a great legacy for our kids. I want her to be on that same page.
Being able to buy a house anytime soon. Cost of living is probably too high in your city with food, bills and transport. The cost of childcare is more than your current salary. There are just no good schools in your area or no school places in areas with good schools.
I can disagree with a lot of these things. I mean, you can live pretty well and raise kids not being in the middle class because people do it all the time. My family was not middle class for a very long time. We just lived in a 1-bedroom apartment with 6 people for what, like a decade plus before we upgraded to a 2-bedroom apartment.
Or even just finding a wife that you can trust won't divorce you and take half of your money.
That would be the more scarier
thing. It's not just an economic problem. Based on Maslow's hierarchy of needs, all the stuff we need like love and marriage and family are just the basics. It's the same importance in life as having food, water, a roof over our heads. The funny thing is that the way this hierarchy was sold to us in the 20th century made it sound like family came after you'd finally self-actualized. You've nailed the career, the money, the personal growth, now for a family. In reality, for most people, that self-actualization replaced family altogether. There was always one more phase of working on myself first, so we ended up with a whole culture optimized for individual self-maximization, while family quietly got pushed off the edge of the pyramid. Today, most of us, let alone Generation Z, never even get past the bottom layers. Housing, money, community, security, it's all unstable. And when your foundation is shaking, you can't climb to the levels where belonging, intimacy, and family even become possible. The system...
I can see it. I can see a lot of young men not being able to compete in today's market because, you know, they might have the skills. They might not have the skills and the knowledge to be able to compete against the technology world that is today.
System keeps us stuck in survival mode, but gaslights us for not reaching love. Do you ever lie in bed scrolling through people's social media? The engagements, weddings, honeymoons, kids, it feels like you're watching real life from behind glass as time seems to disappear from under you. And it's not just about missing out on dates, it's that we're missing out on the opportunity to build something lasting, something to have outside of ourselves, something to connect us with beauty in the world. Somehow starting a family is considered a luxury for the rich, a luxury for a select few in society.
That's what people are saying right now, but the poor just has just as many kids or even more kids. It's the middle class that's really overthinking things.
Who don't have to worry about the housing market. They don't have to worry about the dating crisis. They own several homes. That money and security is attractive to other women. They don't need to worry about schools. They can send their kids to the best private schools anywhere in the world. And the thing is, this isn't an accident. Decades of decisions driven by corporate greed, short-term profits, and a culture that worships work over family has left us here. Those at the top are allowed to have family. They're able to have more kids. And even then, they're still not having that many. Like an idiocracy, where you'll get these upper-class people debating whether it's a good idea.
I love that he brought this movie in. Like, I literally watched it like last month because I was like, man, I gotta watch it again. It is totally what it is right now. All of my friends are the embodiment of these people right here. Yeah, you gotta be stable, you gotta be all this and that, you know?
Idea to even have one child. So how can you expect an undervalued, underpaid worker class to ever be able to have the time, money, or even possibility of raising a family? Especially as more and more governments cut childcare, youth services, community centers, third spaces, police numbers, the list just goes on. But the effect down the line is just a less safe, less connected society that is not replacing itself. Huge populations in the entire Anglosphere are just disappearing over time. And this is where it gets interesting, because if you think about the West,
I mean, you look at Japan, a lot of their cities are empty right now, especially like the smaller provinces, because everybody went towards the city because that's where the major population is. You can't really live in a whole town by yourself.
150 years ago, it wasn't like we were even that much richer. So many people struggled, poverty was rife, the poor worked insane hours, but they still had families, often large ones. So what actually changed? Well, religious communities and spaces, shared culture, social traditions and rituals, these safety nets that help people to share life's burdens were just erased. Modernity has completely stripped away all the essentials that make replacing your population just a natural part of human evolution. And I'd say the most infuriating part of this fertility collapse is when we're just supposed to pretend that people's decision to not have children is simply a personal choice, and not one imposed upon us by oppressive social structures. This isn't a problem in Africa or other developing parts of the world, and yet somehow the rich West can't even replace its population levels. And we can't just blame the rich and powerful here. Much of the progress we celebrate today is just part of the problem. Because we created a massive middle class, and when you look at who's actually having kids, it's not a straight line from rich to poor, it's a U-shape. The wealthy have kids. Elon Musk has 12 children, Nick Cannon has 12, Robert De Niro just had his 7th at age 79. The working class or populations in poorer countries have tons of kids too. Africa's population is booming. Often when work prospects are lower and pay is worse, kids become a lifeline. Life priorities put family before career advancement because career advancement really isn't on the table anyway. There's nothing controversial about this. This was always what it used to be like before countries became industrialized and the middle class blew up.
What do we call it? The capitalism of Disney, the Disney effect on everything, making every other country like the Western countries with all the same brands, all the same ideas, all the same infrastructures and things. It's happening now. Like everybody, even smaller nations are becoming very westernized, very capitalistic. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I'm not saying capitalism is bad, but this is that next level of capitalism.
Families had loads of kids first because infant mortality was high, and second because it means more family income and higher overall chances of survival. The middle class though, they're getting absolutely crushed. And they're dying quite literally because of that. First, the middle class is associated with hard work and career aspirations, the self-actualization I talked about earlier. So immediately there's an additional cost, childcare, because most middle class households have dual incomes. No one wants to give up the career society marketed to them all their life. The middle class couple sits at the kitchen table with a spreadsheet, mortgage, student loans, car payments, health insurance, retirement savings they're already behind on, and then childcare that costs more than their rent. So they wait and wait, they're being sensible, and by the time they feel ready, realize the biological clock never stopped. This is the low fertility trap that threatens everyone. The working poor have kids they can't quite afford. The rich have as many as they want, but the middle class, the people who followed all the rules of their life, maximized their education, delayed gratification, well, they're getting totally screwed. As you expect and probably know, all of this is causing a hell of a lot more stress, angst, paranoia, and disdain. It's getting so bad that men are just doing everything possible to thrive in this algorithmic system.
And MGTOW is probably the best way for a lot of men, just to stay out of the algorithm itself.
To the point of literally breaking their bones to add height to their Hinge profile. Or just...
Which is just so sad.
smashing their jaw open until it looks worthy of more likes on Instagram. It's why looks maxing is now a thing.
We're really seeing is that there is like this very, very like deep anger, entitlement. There's like this incel movement. There's this like alpha male, beta male kind of thing. And I don't know if you kind of get this, but there's like a deep sense of like anger.
Men today are more overprotected than ever before, but at the same time less able to be themselves or show vulnerability than ever. With constant mixed messages about needing to be confident and assertive, but also to never make a woman uncomfortable. So
this is a very hard balance to try to achieve.
when real intimacy feels impossible or dangerous, most people just end up with two obvious escape routes.
This is exactly what I was talking about when Britt Cooper was like talking about it. It's like, oh, men need to... No, you do not realize what's truly going on in men's lives.
Content which has now become a type of synthetic intimacy, numbing your core drive in life to Bonnie Blue videos. Or you go the other extreme route, monk mode, with alpha male gurus, where you see influencers taking to your...
I can't even hate on it. I tell you guys, it's like, I want you guys to have families, but...
at just 14 years old to looks max.
So I was like, I'm gonna get my physique going as quickly as possible. I do not care about side effects. I don't care about any implications of, oh, this guy's using drugs. Like, none of that shit really fazed me.
There's even an influencer influenced so much by his love of American Psycho, he offers expensive courses to help young vulnerable men ascend. Even the escape routes offered by these men are roads to nowhere with heavy price tags attached.
Yeah, this is why I'm not a big fan of like these gurus that sell all these courses, especially they look better and all this stuff. Like, I thought about like selling a course, like, oh, how I started YouTube, but even then I feel a little scummy doing that.
But they all clearly indicate that there is a crisis happening. They're symptoms that dating is falling apart. And with more and more endless towns and cities designed around roads for vehicles and the loss of communal spaces that once enabled people to meet naturally, free time is just now dominated by screens. We need more exaggerated extreme content, whether it be some crazy look smack rant or watching 1,000 men line up outside. Yet whenever this issue is talked about publicly, it just sounds like a joke. No one ever takes it seriously, no one even thinks about it. In fact, society will just continue to tell us that biology doesn't matter. Sex, status, attachment, presence are all just irrelevant. We're now post-animal, caged in our rooms playing out life virtually, deprived of community, ritual, movement, and a necessary bit of chaos and unpredictability, the conditions that our species evolved in. So next time you see falling birth rates across the Western world, when you see the population collapse in numbers, you have to realize that this is manifesting itself through these weird behaviors that we're seeing today. And as we continue to struggle to even replace our current populations, the burden will only get heavier for everyone.
No, it makes sense why there's a lot of incels, a lot of more men that haven't had relations or even spoke with women. Society did not build it to be easy that way anymore. Society built a big cage for men, and it's with porn and video games. And a lot of men accepted it and are okay with that comfort of porn and video games. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. I really appreciate that, and catch you guys next time. Ciao.